First contact deception, the massive Korath battleship Dominator hung in the darkness of space like a steel predator waiting to strike. Commander Vex stood on the bridge, his 4 arms crossed behind his back as he studied the blue planet rotating slowly on the main viewer. His red eyes gleamed with satisfaction as data streams flowed across multiple screens around him. Another primitive world, he growled in his deep voice. The spines along his back ridge stood straight with anticipation. Their technology readings are pathetic. Chemical rockets, basic satellites, crude nuclear power. This will be easier than the Vexian conquest. Science Officer Krell approached with a data tablet clutched in his clawed hands. His green scales shimmered under the bridge lights as he spoke. Commander, the planet's electromagnetic signatures show they have global communications, but nothing sophisticated. No plasma weapons, no energy shields, no faster-than-light capability. They appear to be completely defenseless. Dex's mouth opened in what his species considered a smile, revealing rows of sharp teeth. Perfect. The Korath Empire will add another world to our collection. Begin standard invasion protocols. Sir, interrupted Communications Officer Vex from her station. We are receiving transmissions from the planet's surface. They appear to be welcoming messages. Vex turned sharply. Welcoming. Explain. The transmissions are in their primitive languages, but our translators have decoded them. They are inviting us to peaceful contact. They say they have been waiting for this moment and wish to establish diplomatic relations. The bridge fell silent except for the humming of the ship's engines. Dex had conquered 17 worlds for the Korath Empire. Never had a species welcomed their arrival. Fear, panic, desperate attempts at defense. Those were the normal responses. But welcome, this was unexpected. They welcomed their own conquest. Dex asked with confusion, it appears. So, Commander, they have provided coordinates for a landing site and promised safe passage for our representatives. Dex considered this development. Perhaps these humans were even more primitive than their scans indicated. Perhaps they were so young as a species that they did not understand the danger they faced. Some civilizations were so isolated that they had never encountered hostile aliens. They might actually believe that all contact would be peaceful. Very well, he decided. If they wish to make our conquest easier, we will accept their invitation, but maintain full battle readiness. This could be some primitive attempt at deception. On the surface of Earth, Captain Alina Rodriguez stood in the command center of what appeared to be a simple military base in the Nevada desert. The building looked basic from the outside: concrete walls, metal roofing, standard human architecture, but appearances could be deceiving. Confirmation received, she announced to her team. The Korath fleet has accepted our invitation. They will send a diplomatic shuttle to the coordinates we provided. Dr. Marcus Chen looked up from his computer. Terminal. His young face showed both excitement and nervousness. Are we really doing this? Pretending to be primitive when we could easily destroy their entire fleet? Hinadal Patricia, a veteran of many conflicts, placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Doctor, humanity learned long ago that the best defense is often letting your enemy underestimate you. We have been using this strategy for over 3,000 years, but the risk, Chen protested. If they discover our true capabilities before we are ready, they won't, Elena said firmly. Our surface installations show exactly what we want them to see. Primitive technology, basic weapons, helpless civilians. They will see what they expect to see. The command center around them looked appropriately simple. Computer monitors displayed basic graphics, Communication equipment appeared crude and bulky. Weapons lockers contained chemical firearms and simple explosives. Every detail had been carefully designed to reinforce the illusion of a young, technologically limited civilization. But beneath their feet, hundreds of meters underground, the true Earth defense network hummed with power that could reshape continents. "Surface teams report ready," announced Lieutenant Torres from the communications station. "All personnel are in position. The welcoming committee is prepared." Alina nodded. "Remember, everyone, we are scared but curious humans meeting aliens. For the first time, we are amazed by their technology. We ask the right questions, but not too many. We show them what they expect to see." Hours later, the Korath shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere toward the coordinates the humans had provided. Commander Vex sat in the passenger compartment with 5 of his most trusted officers. Through the shuttle's windows, he could see the landing site approaching. "Primitive," commented Captain Zek, his weapons specialist. "Simple concrete structures, basic vehicles, no visible defense systems. These humans have no idea what they are dealing with." "Look at their aircraft," added Major Yex, pointing to several planes visible in the distance. "Chemical combustion, engines, metal construction, no energy weapons. A single Korath fighter could destroy their entire air force." Vex felt completely confident. The humans had invited their own conquest. Soon this world would join the Korath Empire, and its resources would fuel their expansion to other star systems. The shuttle touched down on a concrete landing pad. Through the windows, Dex could see a group of humans approaching. They moved nervously, clearly frightened, but trying to appear brave. One of them, a female with short brown hair, stepped forward as the shuttle door opened. "Welcome to Earth," she said in accented Korath. Her voice shook slightly with what appeared to be fear mixed with excitement. "I am Captain Alina Rodriguez. On behalf of humanity, we are honored by your presence." Vex stepped out of the shuttle, his impressive height making the humans seem small and fragile. He was pleased to see several of them step backward instinctively. Fear was the proper response to Korath power. "I am Commander Vex of the Korath Empire," he announced. "We have come to evaluate your world." "We understand," Alina replied. "We have prepared a facility where we can talk safely. We have so many questions about your technology, your civilization, your travels among the stars." As they walked toward the buildings, Dex noticed that the humans carried primitive communication devices and what appeared to be simple recording equipment. Their clothing was basic, their weapons were crude chemical firearms, and their vehicles were powered by combustion engines. Everything confirmed that this was indeed a primitive species. "Your journey from the stars must have been incredible," Alina said as they entered the main building. "We have dreamed of meeting other intelligent life, but we never imagined it would happen so soon." "Soon?" Dex asked. "We have only been exploring space for a few decades. We have barely reached our neighboring planets. To think that beings like you have mastered travel between the stars. It is overwhelming." The building's interior was as primitive as its exterior. Simple furniture, basic lighting, crude computer, terminals. The humans had prepared a meeting room with chairs that had obviously been hastily modified to accommodate Korath anatomy. The attention to detail was touching in its simplicity. "We have prepared a presentation about our world," Alina continued. "We thought you might be interested in learning about our civilization, our technology, our culture." Over the next several hours, the humans showed their visitors around the facility. They demonstrated their computers, which were indeed primitive. By Korath standards, they showed their weapons, which were laughably weak. They explained their space program, which was barely capable of reaching nearby planets. "This is our most advanced spacecraft," Dr. Chen said proudly as they toured a hangar containing what appeared to be a basic chemical rocket. "We used it to establish a small research station on our moon." The Korath officers exchanged glances. A chemical rocket to reach their moon. The Korath Empire had faster-than-light ships that could cross the galaxy. These humans were more primitive than they had initially calculated. "Very impressive for your level of development," Vex said diplomatically. "Perhaps we can help you improve your technology." "That would be amazing," Alina replied with obvious excitement. "We have so much to learn." As the day progressed, became more and more confident in his assessment. The humans were a young species, barely out of their planetary childhood. They had no defenses that could threaten the Korath fleet. They had no weapons that could damage Korath armor. They had no technology that could detect Korath stealth systems. "Commander," Captain Zek whispered during a break in the tour, "this is almost too easy. They have no idea we are evaluating them for conquest." "No," Dex agreed quietly. "They believe this is peaceful first contact. They have no concept of galactic politics or the reality of interstellar warfare." But as the evening approached, some of the Korath officers began to notice small details that seemed inconsistent. The facility, supposedly built quickly for this meeting, showed signs of long use. The humans, supposedly meeting aliens for the first time, were remarkably composed and well prepared. The technology, supposedly primitive, was engineered with a precision that suggested more advanced manufacturing capabilities. Asterisk. Major Yex pulled Dex aside. "Commander, something feels wrong about this place. The humans are too calm, too organized, and my sensors are detecting energy signatures that don't match their primitive technology." "What kind of energy signatures?" Dex asked. "I'm not sure. They appear to be coming from deep underground, but they're partially shielded. It could be geological activity, but the patterns seem artificial." Vex considered this information. It was possible that the humans had some technology they had not yet shown. Many primitive species had secret projects or experimental systems they kept hidden. But the readings were probably nothing more than crude nuclear reactors or industrial equipment. "Continue monitoring," he ordered. "But do not let the humans know we suspect anything. We will proceed with the evaluation as planned." As night fell over the facility, the humans provided sleeping quarters for their guests. The rooms were simple but comfortable, with basic amenities and primitive communication systems. Dex settled into his quarters, satisfied that tomorrow would bring the final phase of the evaluation. But deep beneath the desert floor, systems that had been dormant for centuries were slowly coming online. Energy levels that had remained stable for generations began to fluctuate, and in command centers hidden far below the surface, humans who had never been primitive watched and waited. The Korath Empire had made the same mistake that 43 other species had made before them. They had assumed that what they could see was all there was to see. They had believed that a species that appeared young was actually young. They had concluded that a world that seemed defenseless was actually defenseless. Tomorrow they would learn the truth about Earth and humanity. Tomorrow they would discover that they were not the first to arrive at this small blue planet. Tomorrow they would understand that some tests are designed to be failed. And tomorrow they would see what happened when humanity stopped pretending to be something they were not. In his quarters, Commander Vex fell asleep, confident that he had found another easy conquest for the Korath Empire. He had no way of knowing that his species' fate now hung in the balance, depending on choices he would have to make when the sun rose on a very different Earth than the one he thought he had discovered. The facility above ground remained quiet and peaceful, but far below, ancient systems hummed with power that could crack planets and reshape solar systems. And in the depths of the Earth, humanity prepared to reveal who they really were. The Guardian's awakening Commander Vex awoke, to the sound of alarms echoing through the facility. His forearms moved quickly as he grabbed his equipment and rushed from his quarters. The primitive human alarms were crude but effective, and the urgency in their tone made his scales tingle with alert energy. In the corridor, he encountered Captain Alina Rodriguez running toward what appeared to be a command center. Her face showed panic and confusion, emotions that seemed genuine for a primitive species facing an unexpected crisis. "Commander Vex," she called out, "we need your help. Something is happening beneath our facility. Our instruments are detecting massive energy buildups underground. We don't understand what's causing it." Dex followed her into the command center, where human technicians worked frantically at their basic computer terminals. The displays showed seismic readings, energy signatures, and structural stress indicators that were all climbing rapidly. Dr. Chen stood at the center of the activity, his young face pale with worry. "The readings started an hour ago," Chen explained quickly. "Something deep underground is drawing enormous amounts of power. We're detecting energy levels that should be impossible with our technology." General Hayes approached with a grim expression. "Our geological surveys never detected anything like this. It's as if there's an entire complex beneath us that we never knew existed." Dex felt a chill of uncertainty. His own portable scanner was detecting the same energy readings, but they were far beyond anything a primitive species should be able to generate. The power levels were approaching those of Korath battlecruisers. "Have you tried to evacuate the facility?" he asked. "We're trying," Alina replied. "But the elevator systems are malfunctioning. Some of our personnel are trapped in the lower levels. We're hoping your advanced technology might help us understand what's happening." Before Vex could respond, the floor beneath them began to vibrate. The vibration grew stronger and more rhythmic, like the heartbeat of something enormous awakening far below. Computer terminals flickered and sparked as power surges ran through the facility's electrical systems. "Commander," Major Yex said quietly, approaching with his scanner in hand, "these readings are impossible. The energy signatures are coming from at least 700 meters underground, but that would require construction capabilities far beyond what these humans possess." "Construction?" Alina asked, somehow overhearing the quiet conversation. "What kind of construction?" "Military installations," Yex replied automatically, then caught himself. "I mean, theoretical military installations. The energy patterns suggest defensive systems and weapons platforms." The humans exchanged glances that Dex found difficult to read. They seemed confused and frightened, but there was something else in their expressions, something that looked almost like recognition. "Defensive systems?" Dr. Chen asked with what appeared to be growing fear. "You mean weapons? Down there?" "That's impossible," General Hayes said firmly. "We would know if there were weapons installations beneath our own facility." The vibrations grew stronger, and suddenly the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in moments later, bathing the command center in red light. On the computer screens, the energy readings had doubled, then tripled. "Whatever is down there," Alina said with a trembling voice, "it's fully active now." At that moment, the floor in the center of the room began to glow with a soft blue light. The glow spread outward in geometric patterns, forming symbols that definitely were not of human origin. The symbols pulsed with increasing brightness as the energy readings climbed higher. "That's not human technology," Dex said with growing alarm. "No," Alina replied quietly. "It's not." The floor began to descend, revealing that it was actually a sophisticated elevator platform. As it lowered, the walls around them slid away to show that the simple command center was merely a facade. Behind the walls lay corridors that stretched into darkness, lit by the same blue glow that pulsed from the floor. "Welcome to the real Earth Defense Command," Alina said, her voice no longer trembling with fear. "I apologize for the deception, but we had to be certain of your intentions." The elevator continued its descent, and Dex realized that everything they had believed about the humans was wrong. The primitive technology, the simple buildings, the crude weapons, it had all been an elaborate performance designed to hide the truth. "You're not primitive," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "We haven't been primitive for over 3,000 years, Alina replied. "We've been spacefaring for longer than the Korath Empire has existed. We've been watching your expansion across the galaxy for the past 5 centuries. The elevator stopped at what appeared to be an observation deck. Through massive transparent walls, Dex could see a complex that defied comprehension. The underground facility stretched 4 kilometers in every direction, its ceiling supported by columns of metal that seemed to flow like liquid. Thousands of humans moved through the complex, working at stations that controlled technology beyond Korath understanding. "This is impossible," Captain Zek breathed. "Our scans would have detected installations of this size. Your scans detect what we want them to detect," Dr. Chen explained. "Our stealth technology has been refined over millennia. We've had to hide from species far more advanced than yours." General Hayes, no longer showing any signs of primitive confusion, gestured toward the massive display screens that lined the walls. "We monitor every spacefaring civilization in this galaxy. We watch their development, their expansion, their conflicts. We've been doing this for longer than most species have existed." The displays showed star maps with incredible detail. Dex could see Korath territory marked clearly, along with dozens of other species domains. Trade routes, military installations, fleet movements, everything was tracked and recorded. "You've been spying on us," Major Yek said with growing anger. "We've been protecting the galaxy," Alina corrected. "From species like yours." She touched a control, and the display changed to show a timeline of galactic history. Red markers indicated the destruction of entire civilizations. Yellow markers showed species that had been contained to their home systems. Green markers represented species that had been allowed to continue their natural development. 43 spacefaring species have contacted Earth over the past 3 millennia, Alina continued. Each one believed they were the first to discover us. Each one thought we were a primitive species that needed their guidance or conquest. "What happened to them?" Dex asked, though he was beginning to suspect the answer. "That depends on what we learned about them during their evaluation. Species that proved to be peaceful explorers were gently redirected away from Earth with their memories adjusted. They never knew our true nature. Species that proved to be aggressive conquerors." She paused, looking directly at Dex. "They were prevented from threatening other worlds." The implications hit Dex like a physical blow. "You've been testing us. From the moment your fleet entered this star system, yes. We've been monitoring your communications, your battle plans, your intentions toward our world. We've been evaluating whether the Korath Empire represents a threat to younger civilizations. Dr. Chen stepped forward. Your species has conquered 17 worlds, Commander, 17 civilizations that were actually primitive, actually defenseless. You've enslaved populations, stripped planets of resources, and eliminated any species that resisted your expansion. That is the right of the strong, Dex replied automatically, but his voice lacked conviction. No, Alina said firmly. That is the choice of the cruel. The truly strong protect those who cannot protect themselves. She gestured to another display that showed images of the species that Korath had conquered. The Vexians were a peaceful, agricultural people. They had no weapons, no armies, no desire for conflict. Your empire destroyed their civilization and enslaved their survivors. The Trilans were artists and philosophers. They created beauty and knowledge. Your forces burned their libraries and turned their cities into mining operations. Each image was a reminder of what the Korath Empire had become. Vex had participated in many of these conquests, always believing that they were bringing order and progress to primitive worlds. Now he saw them through different eyes. The question, General Hayes said, is what we do with this knowledge. Your empire represents a clear threat to dozens of developing civilizations. Left unchecked, you will continue to expand, continue to conquer, continue to destroy cultures that cannot defend themselves. You would destroy us, Dex said quietly. We would prefer not to, but we have protected this galaxy for 3,000 years. We will not allow it to be consumed by an empire that views compassion as weakness. Alina led them to another section of the complex, where massive screens showed the Korath fleet in orbit around Earth. The ships looked small and vulnerable compared to the defensive installations that were now visible on the displays. Your fleet is powerful by the standards of most species, she said, but we have weapons that can dismantle stars and defenses that can withstand galactic core explosions. We have allies among species you've never encountered and technologies that rewrite the laws of physics. Then why the deception? Dex asked. Why not simply destroy us when we arrived? Because destruction is not our first choice. We believe in the potential for growth, for change, for redemption. Some of the species that first contacted us with hostile intentions later became our closest allies. They learned that true strength comes from protection, not conquest. Dr. Chen brought up another display showing various alien species working alongside humans in the vast complex. The Etherians first contacted us 800 years ago with plans to harvest our sun for energy. Now they're our partners in protecting younger civilizations. The Quantari arrived with a fleet twice the size of yours, intending to claim Earth as a breeding world. Today, they help us monitor dangerous species and prevent galactic conflicts. You're offering us a choice, Dex realized. You can return to your empire and continue your expansion. If you choose that path, you'll find that every world you approach is mysteriously defended by forces you cannot comprehend. Your conquests will end, and your empire will stagnate. Eventually, you'll face extinction as your resources run out and your technology falls behind. Elena's expression softened slightly. Or you can choose to evolve. Your species has incredible potential. Your technology is advanced. Your people are intelligent, and your organizational abilities are remarkable. Those qualities could be used to protect and guide instead of conquer and destroy. The displays changed again, showing images of Korath working alongside other species in peaceful endeavors. Exploration missions, scientific research. the protection of vulnerable worlds, all possible futures for a species that chose growth over conquest. We would help you transition, General Hayes added. We would provide technology, guidance, and support. Your people would not lose their strength or their pride. They would simply learn to use both in service of something greater than themselves. Dex stared at the images, his mind reeling with the implications. Everything he had believed about strength, about the rights of the powerful, about the natural order of the galaxy, was being challenged. The humans had shown him that true power came not from the ability to destroy, but from the ability to protect. My people will not accept this easily, he said finally. The Korath Empire has been built on conquest. Our culture, our economy, our entire way of life depends on expansion and domination. Change is never easy, Elena acknowledged, but it is possible. We've seen it happen before. Species that seemed irredeemably aggressive have learned to channel their strength into protection instead of destruction. The key is leadership. Individuals who are willing to choose a different path. She gestured toward the screens, showing the Korath fleet. Your people are waiting for your report. You can tell them that Earth is a primitive world ready for conquest. When they attack, they'll discover the truth in the worst possible way. Or you can tell them what you've learned here and help them choose a better future. Dex looked at his officers, seeing the same mixture of shock, fear, and possibility in their eyes that he felt in his own heart. Major Yex spoke first, her voice uncertain but thoughtful. Commander, if what they're saying is true, then every conquest we've made has been against people who couldn't fight back. We've been bullying children and calling it strength. Captain. Zek nodded slowly. The honor we thought we were earning, it was never real. Real honor comes from protecting those who need protection, not from destroying those who cannot resist. Dr. Chen stepped forward. Your choice doesn't have to be final or immediate. We can provide you with information, with evidence, with examples of species that have made this transition successfully. You can take that information back to your people and let them decide their own future. And if they choose to continue their conquests, Dex asked, then they'll discover that the galaxy is no longer as defenseless as they believed, Ali replied. But we hope they'll choose differently. We hope they'll choose to become protectors instead of predators. As the tour continued, Dex saw wonders that changed his understanding of what was possible. Humans and aliens working together to nurture developing civilizations. Technologies that could heal worlds instead of destroying them. Fleets that patrolled the galaxy not to conquer, but to prevent conflicts and protect the innocent. When they finally returned to the surface, the primitive facility looked exactly as it had before. But now Dex understood that appearances could be deceiving. The humans had mastered the art of seeming weak while being incredibly strong, of appearing simple while being incredibly sophisticated. We'll return to our ship, he said finally. We need time to process what we've learned and decide how to present this information to our people. Of course, Alina replied, but remember, the choice isn't just about your empire's future. It's about the future of every young civilization in the galaxy. Every species that is just beginning to explore. The stars, just beginning to develop their technology, just beginning to discover their potential. As the Korath shuttle lifted off from the desert facility, Dex stared down at the Earth below. It looked peaceful and innocent, just as it had when they first arrived. But now he knew that this small blue planet was home to guardians who had been protecting the galaxy for millennia. The question was whether the Korath Empire would choose to join those guardians. or whether they would learn the hard way that humanity's patience with galactic predators had finally run out. In the depths of space, the Korath fleet waited for his report, and deep beneath the Earth's surface, ancient weapon systems remained online, ready to defend not just humanity, but every innocent species in the galaxy. The choice was his to make. The future of the galaxy hung in the balance. And for the first time in his life, Commander Dex understood what true strength really meant. Asterisk,